My son was supposed to be confirmed. It was Pentecost Sunday. And of course, I had planned to be home here in southern Indiana. But what had happened was we were trying to get into the north of Sri Lanka, onto the Jaffna Peninsula. While I was crossing the lagoon, boats were attacked. And most of the boats turned around and went back, but being in one of the forward boats, mine went on across. Then they shut down the boats. So I found myself trapped on the peninsula. I just lay there one night thinking, this is a peculiar place for a pastor from a couple small rural congregations in southern Indiana to be.
Lamar, Indiana is an unincorporated town in the rural hills near the Ohio River. It's not much more than a railroad crossing. But the pastor of its two churches, Reverend Paul Jahn, known to his parishioners as Chip, felt that when they made the commitment to become a just peacemaking ministry, they needed to back up those words with action.
When we first entered into this relationship with this church in Sri Lanka, one of the things that I recognized that these were some folks that risked for their congregations on a regular basis. There are people that had to live at risk because they were folks that were in the middle of a conflict. It was my feeling that too often in the American church we're adverse to risk, that we were oftentimes the most comfortable community you'll find. That just didn't sit well with what we are called to do.
In 1993, Sri Lanka had been embroiled in a violent ethnic conflict for over a decade. The Jaffna Diocese of the Church of South India had a long-standing relationship with Chip's church. Most of the churches in this diocese were in rebel-controlled territory. They asked their American partners to bring international attention to the suffering of their people.
A bomb landed here and a bomb landed in there. 2 or 3 students were killed.
Yes, 2 or 3 students.
Chip took this message to his congregations of St. Peter and Trinity United Churches of Christ, where it was decided that if they were going to get involved, it was too important to do superficially. The just peacemaking paradigm was originated by Dr. Glenn Stassen, with degrees in nuclear physics, theology, and Christian ethics. The tenets of just peacemaking have been used to bring about the treaties that ended atmospheric nuclear testing and began the movement toward disarmament. These practices of just peacemaking are what Reverend Jahn intended to utilize in the Sri Lankan conflict. This decision put these 2 small rural congregations at the heart of a just peacemaking ministry on the other side of the world.
I felt that I should be no less willing to take risks than some of my colleagues who are pastors there in Sri Lanka. I thought it was worth it.
To undertake his mission, Chip would have to travel into areas controlled by the LTTE, the Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, more commonly known as the Tamil Tigers.
The LTT used what you'd consider terrorist tactics. Suicide bombing. They also attack police stations and would oftentimes kill everybody that they found. The international community quickly attached the label of terrorist to the LTTE. We were in partnership with a Tamil church. It was pretty exclusively a Tamil church. There was an interest in finding out what was going on in the north and the east, and our partnership gave us access to that. That we were the Indiana-Kentucky Conference, a small organization, that I was a pastor from southern Indiana, often played well because no one was particularly interested in me. I could cross from the government-controlled areas into the LTT-controlled areas without a lot of scrutiny.
During the period when our country was spiraling into its war on terror, Chip and his 2 congregations were becoming more deeply immersed in their peacemaking efforts with a U.S.-designated terrorist group, the Tamil Tigers. What had begun as a mission to mitigate the effects of war on civilians was now transforming into an endeavor to achieve a negotiated peace. They believed it could be done, but not by themselves. Our government had to be convinced to become involved. That job fell to this pastor from rural Indiana and his 2 small congregations. But would Washington listen? Would anyone listen?